Hey, today we're going to do a review on the Revolver 58mm aggressive inline skate wheel. To start this off, I break a lot of wheels when I go skating. It doesn't matter what new urethane, what new compound, what metal frame you can put around the urethane, I'm breaking it. So I always go into a new wheel purchase with like complete doubts. I'm looking at the cores, I'm looking at like what kind of urethane it is, I'm looking at what kind of hardness they're using on the wheel, and most importantly, it's like shape for me now. I like a wheel that has more of a round shape than a squared off shape that is really accustomed to like our past. I feel like the skinnier shape rolls a lot better, and in turn just gives you more freedom to like cruise around on skate. So I was skating the really skinny red Ricciazzo wheels for the longest time, and when I decided to switch back to anti-rocker, I was kind of like a flux because I like dead wheels a lot, but I don't like how the cores kind of feel after a while. They kind of like crinkle out, or like the bearings kind of loosen out and they make like weird sounds, and they don't truly feel like they're as hard as they say they are, or I've broken them. It's one or the other. So it's like, you know, they're good wheels though. Like that's like option B for me. You can always go to that wheel, because I always look at it as like similar to an undercover wheel, because you can tell they're the same core, probably made in the same factory. Don't quote me on that, I have no idea. Shout out Seth Miner, you put me onto this one. You said, hey, why don't you check out the Revolver wheel? And I had, to be honest with you, I had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. I'm kind of like not in tune when something new comes out with a skate product these days, especially a wheel, because there's so many companies out there now and so many people are making their own stuff, which is awesome, but you kind of like lose some stuff in the dust where you don't see it all. He told me about the Revolver wheel and he's like, yo, it's really cheap and I like it a lot. And I'm like, you know, I'm always up for like proving people wrong. And honestly, when you first see it, the core is slightly different from the other wheels that I've seen on the market. It's slightly wider. I don't know if it does anything different, but I like the fact they were $31 in exchange to $51 or like $44 compared to other wheels. So, but me being a consumer, you see that, you're like, okay, what's wrong with this wheel? But I was assured that it's just the local shop's wheel. They make it themselves, and you know, give it a try. Like, it's the worst thing that can happen. You spend $31 and break a set of wheels. So I think I ordered 2 sets. They shipped them over from England really quick. Or sorry, they shipped them over from the UK super quick. Got here and I put them on. And the first day, I decided to skate them. It was like a super hot Philadelphia day, July. And Nick was actually hurt that day, so it was kind of like a me day. We're just gonna go like, cruise around the local area, and maybe I'll get like a clip or two. And he would just be down to film. And to be fair, the first spot I skated was like this really rough highway to like curb ledge that I did a little thing on the Behind the Trick series. But you know, rough ground, I fell, ate shit, like cut my hand open pretty bad. And but I like the wheels. They felt pretty good on the ground. Like they're going through rough surfaces. It was good. Second spot. So I want to say it was like a storm drain that was on the side of a hill from the school. But there was absolutely no reason it should have been there, especially when it was going up to a fence to nothing. We had originally looked at that spot on Google Earth, and I thought maybe like, you know, you could go fence to fence, but it was so like roughed up, and we had to put it was a shitty spot, but I had to basically start down the street, go all the way down, piping hot, and then I ended up chunking my wheel in the middle of trying it. And I actually did the trick with the chunked wheel. And so, you know, your first day, you just get these wheels, you're thinking, you know, this is probably the worst case scenario, these wheels aren't good. But, so I emailed them, I told them, hey, like, I don't mean to be a nuisance, but I broke your wheel in one day. Is that kind of like normal for that like batch? Maybe it was like a bad batch, because I used to test wheels for companies back in the day, and that would happen. You would get a wheel and it would instantly dehub no matter what you did, or it would just like fall apart really quickly. And they sent me out another set, and I had the second set that I was still skating, or the second set left over, and I put them back on, and then I kind of like use the other 3 as like Frankenstein sets, so when I would like break a different wheel, I would kind of just like shift them in, you know what I mean? Like phase them into the skate, or like if it was wearing down too much. But the wheel went from that And I didn't have another problem with it really. They had like the occasional, like when they got too small, they chunked up a little bit. But I had just put the replacement set in that they had resent from the other ones, and this is kind of like how they look now. And if you can really tell, like, I probably skated these like 9-10 times now, and on anti-rocker. And to be honest with you, like, I used to have wheels break on me in 15 minutes back in the day, where I had actually went to Atlanta to skate and was given wheels and brought them down there, and I was at Norcross, and if anybody knows Norcross, it's like that incredible, you know, lines and lines and lines of ledges in Atlanta. And it was like my dream spot as a Philly skater. Like, we're ledge rats. We really only like ledges for the most part, or at least I do. I like ledges a lot. So like going there was like, oh my goodness, like finally I get to, you know, experience it. And I chunked my wheels like 5 minutes after getting there, and like I'm not even lying, like 5 minutes after I got there. And I actually had to buy wheels off my friend just to be able to keep skating the rest of the time I was there. But to have these last, because I finished pretty much, I rode the older set for the rest of Dynovfr for $31. You really, like, especially in the price point of how like stuff is, if like some wheels are $51, $78, you know, $80 for a set of wheels without bearings, or for a set of 4 wheels without bearings, and it's like they're falling apart in a week or two. It's like, can you really justify spending $40 more for 4 wheels because the, you know, a different name is on there, because they quote unquote have a different compound that, you know, they don't. But so durability wise, other than that chunk, I would say that they're a little slippery. But also I noticed that on the site they don't have the 58mm anymore. They only have the 60mm or the 56mm. So you're kind of like in a bind right there. If you want to ride 60, you need a certain frame for it. And 56 for me, I used to like praise the fact that 55mm was like the go-to for flat rocker. But after skating a 59 and a 58mm for so long, and then switching back to a 55mm wheel when it's like that low profile, but it's so slow. Like even with flat, it doesn't matter. And I think it was like, I had a similar problem when I skated hyper midgets back in the day too. It's just so slow when you're skating down the street, and it feels like you're sluggish in a way, especially when you're used to riding a higher wheel. And for what you get for saving on the grinding, I feel like the frames nowadays do a better job of like taking out the fear of getting stuck on flat. So the reasoning of skating a 55mm wheel these days really, we kind of like grew out of that. And not only that, I'm 6'2", and I weigh like in between 195 and 215 depending on like what I'm eating or how lazy I am. So maybe I'm a little too big for them. It could be that. So I need like a taller wheel, and that's very much could be the case. So maybe if you're like smaller, like 5'8", under 150, you're probably fine. Say for durability, these are 4 out of 5 for the price. For $31, and they last as long as they've been lasting, I can't really complain. Looks wise, they're a plain Jane wheel. I have no problem with that. I like how they look. I like no logos. I don't need, you know, a super sweet graphic that's gonna fall off in an hour and a half of me skating, and you know, me looking at it and going, oh. I'm glad they only have white and black wheels. Don't need really anything else. I like colored wheels, but I tend to know that like once you step out of the white and the black aspect, they kind of fall apart a lot easier. The good thing about these wheels is they don't have a lot of bounce. They don't slip a lot. I didn't really have a problem with set slides. I only had a problem with that little chunk on the new ones. As you can see, there's like a little hole, but it really doesn't affect your skating too much. I haven't really noticed it. I actually noticed it while I was filming the stuff for this. It's not too hard, it's not too soft, it doesn't feel bad, it doesn't crinkle up in 3 sessions, it doesn't chunk. I haven't decored one yet, which is, you know, I'm decoring every wheel no matter what nowadays. So if you want a different option from Dead, Undercover, or La Beta, or whoever else there is out there, check out the Revolver wheel. And I am not sponsored by them. I paid for these wheels. So yeah, this is a guy that usually breaks everything. So if I'm saying I'm not breaking them, or I'm breaking them minimally compared to other stuff, I would say they're worth $31 to check out. And you know, shout out you guys for taking care of me when I broke that one wheel and not thinking I was just a kook. So thank you. I can recommend them. I can honestly say that. I would say they're a 4 out of 5 overall. If you want a cheap wheel that and you don't want to break the bank and you want something that's reliable and pretty good for flat or anti-rocker, I would suggest this. This is really not a bad option, and especially for the price point. In closing, the thing I hope that they would do differently, if you could somehow make the shape of these like a super bullet, kind of like the undercover wheel. I feel like that is the only upgrade I would make, but I feel like I'm going to be saying that for like every wheel nowadays because that's what I like, and I feel like that's what works. If you enjoyed this review, feel free to check out some more, and I'll be back soon.